Welcome. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at this BROWEY portable power station with integrated solar panel. So this was provided to me by the distributor, but they're not compensating me for this video and they're not reviewing it before I post it. If you find this video helpful, you want to purchase one of these, I'll put a link to it in the description on Amazon, and if you use that link it helps me out a little bit and doesn't cost you anything extra. On the side we have some specs. Let's go over a couple of them. This uses lithium iron phosphate batteries. So lithium iron phosphate batteries tend to last longer than lithium ion batteries, meaning it can have more cycles, and they're less prone to thermal runaway than lithium ion batteries. So that generally makes them safer. The capacity is 614.4 watt hours. Weight is 10.5 kilograms or around 23 pounds. You can charge this with an adapter, car charger, or solar panel. It has USB output. AC output on it is 600 watts and 1200 max watts. Operating temperature is -10 to 45 degrees Celsius. Cycle life is greater than or equal to 3500. And it comes with the power station, power adapter, car adapter cable, cable storage bag, DC power cable, DC transfer ports, and user manual. So let's get this open. I'll have to pull this off my bench to lift it out. So here's a pouch. So let's take a look at the pouch real quick. So it has an owner's manual. You'll want to read through this. It has a lot of safety precautions in it. Here we have the power adapter. This outputs 24 volts at 5 amps, and it has all of these different size adapters. Here we have a car adapter, and this is a 12 volt to 12 volt adapter. So let's look at the power station. It has rubber here on the sides, on the corners actually. It has a vent there. We have inputs on the other side. Here we have a screen, some plastic on it. I'll peel that off. We have the inputs here. These have little doors. Here we have USB out, it's 65 watt power delivery. Then we have 18 watt quick charge. Next we have DC input and output. So to charge this, you'll plug your DC in there, and then you can also output 12 volts DC. Then here we have our AC out and our DC out. So you can press these buttons to turn them on because you don't want to turn the inverter on if you're not using that. The inverter on this is pure sine wave. On the back we have a fold out leg, so you can tilt it back like so. Then the unique feature on this one is the fold out solar panel. So let's pull that up. So here we have a 30 watt solar panel. So you can tilt this back and aim it towards the sun and charge this. So let's turn the display on here. It says we're at 80. Let's hit AC. The AC load turned on. We'll hit DC and DC output turned on. So let's plug this in to charge it. Okay, the display shows it's charging at 105 watts. So now let me try some loads on this. So I'll unplug the charger. I'll turn on the AC inverter and I'll plug in this drill. So I'm just barely turning the drill. And we're drawing 6 watts. Let me turn it up more. That was around 180 watts. Let me do it all the way. That was drawing around 150 watts. This also has a USB Type-C charger. We can also charge a laptop with it. So I have a USB Type-C cable. I'll plug that into the USB output here. So it is not charging. Let me turn the AC off and let's turn DC on. Okay, so if you want to use the USB ports, you'll want to turn DC on. So we're charging the laptop at 13 watts. So since it has a native power delivery port, this is a very efficient way to charge a laptop. If you were to plug a power adapter into the 120 volts, you're going to be converting the electricity many times. This is efficient having a built-in power delivery port, so that's going to give you a really good runtime on it. Of course, the big feature of this is the solar charging. So I'm going to take this outside, we'll set it up in the sun, and we'll test that out. Okay, so I'm outside. We'll come out here in the sun. I'll pull the kickstand out, and now I'll pull the solar panel up. Like so. So you're going to want to try to aim it towards the sun as best as possible. So here we can see the input. It's currently charging it at 22 watts. Now it is winter time, so this isn't the best time of year for solar charging, so that's pretty good. And I could probably aim it a little bit better. Okay, so it's been about 3.5 hours, and it says it's drawing around 10 watts. And the gauge says it's full, but it might not be 100% full, but it's probably pretty close. But the sun's starting to go down, so there will be diminishing returns for the rest of the day. So now I can close this up. and I can carry it off. Okay, so I've charged this up to 100% and I've connected a fan to it, and then I have a power monitor here. So I'm going to run this and see how much capacity we use. Now they spec this at 614 watt hours, but the inverter is going to have some losses. I also have the power meter, takes a little bit of electricity, but this will give an idea of what you can run with the load I'm going to run. And I'll see what the fan's going to draw. I'll put it on low. So the load right now is 58 watts. So I'll come back in a couple hours and we'll see where this is at. Okay, so the battery in the power station is depleted, and here we have the power monitor. So I started this around 9:54 this morning, and it was ended at around 7:22, and the consumption was 0.52 kilowatt hours. So if we take the 520 divided by 614, we get 0.846. So it would be 85% capacity. So that would mean around 15% went to the inverter. And also have that power monitor on there that would have taken up some of that 15% too. But that gives you a rough idea. That being said, it did drop off towards the end, so let's look at that. So here's the current consumption. There was a little spike when I started because I ramped it up to the high speed, and then it did start to drop off over that last half hour. So it was at around 55 watts, and this was very steady the whole time. I mean, it was just within a watt, and then it dropped off until it turned off at 40 watts. So it dropped pretty quickly towards the end. Let's look at the voltage. So the voltage starts right here where you see this line. This previously is when it was plugged into the wall, but the voltage here, it's 112.8, and if we go over, it's 0.7, 0.8. So it's very steady here. It's 0.5 until it gets to the end, and then it starts to drop off, and you can see the voltage drops down here, and then it shut off. So let's look at the time duration. So I have a calculator I brought up here, and we got 9 hours and 31 minutes at around 55 watts. Now, if you take off that last half hour where it did drop the voltage and wattage, we got a good solid 9 hours there. So those are some runtime numbers on this power station. Now, it's important to point out if you're using something like a portable fridge, you'd want to plug into the 12 volt if you have a 12 volt adapter. Then you're not using the inverter, so you should get longer run times than if you use the 110 volt outlet. Same thing if you have a laptop, you'll want to plug into the PD port as opposed to using a power adapter plugged into the 110. That will give you greater runtime because you're not using that inverter. But I think the really nice thing about this when you're looking at capacity is that with the built-in solar panel, just by flipping the lid and pointing this towards the sun, you're going to add to that capacity. So I have a portable fridge. I think it draws around 55 watts. This panel, I was getting around 22 watts, but the fridge runs intermittently. So this could potentially replace that electricity that it would use to keep the cooler cold. Now, there are many factors involved in that, but at a minimum, you're going to get greater runtime using the solar. Now, you could also expand this with a external solar panel too, plugged into the DC in port. And while that's a nice option, I like that this is built in, so you always have it with you. So this would be a great power station to put in the back of your car. Since it has lithium iron phosphate batteries, it's going to be less affected by heat than a lithium ion battery. I would still want to keep this cool. You also don't want to charge this while it's freezing, and you don't want it to get depleted and then store it that way. You want to store it at probably maybe 50 to 80%. This power station would be great for camping, tailgating, power outages, emergencies. I like to use power stations like this when I'm doing something where I would need to run an extension cord. Sometimes it's easier just to grab a power station like this, take it with you, like if you're using a corded drill or maybe corded hedge trimmers or something. I'll even use a power station like this to charge a battery in a car. I'll plug a car charger into this and charge it because then I don't have to mess with all the cords. One of my most common usages for a portable power station is to power projectors. So when we're at the local community center and I have my projector pointing at the wall, I don't have to run an extension cord from the middle of the room to the side of the room. I can plug into the power station and then I don't have to worry about taping down the cord and such. So that's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.